Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Generational Rundown. Hi, Alexandra.
Hi, new name. I love it. We're so
I,
excited. Second episode with it.
I literally had to pause, Alexandra, because every time I'm ready to say raspy. I mean, I was thinking I even have a necklace that you got me that says raspy
Right.
rundown. So generational.
I know.
We're
Raspy
on,
rolls off the tongue, but it's okay.
yeah. And of course, we're on with Maura Sullivan, our second person business owner, woman of the week, of the month, I should say. Being May, as we said, we're going forward with interviewing all these lovely women. And we're so happy to have Maura Sullivan on our podcast joining us today.
Maura, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and how long you've been in business for? You have an amazing thrift consignment store, so let's hear all about it.
Sure. So actually this month I just celebrated 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. April, it was 20 years. I opened my store in 2004. And in fact, I opened it after I had gotten divorced, and I waited till my son was going into kindergarten. And I opened it up only as a children's store. And so it wasn't Consign Envy, it was called
Cottage.
the Children's Cottage. Yeah,
I remember, I
yeah,
didn't realize that you started in 2004 because I moved here 2007.
yeah, I did. And then after about 5 years, I moved to a different location, and that's when I expanded into women's. So for the past 15 years, I've been doing children's and women's clothing and accessories.
Do you want to tell us, like, take us back
Sure.
to how this all evolved to get to this point? Like what you started with?
So for me, I was divorced, and I had to make a huge decision, right? There was a complete life shift, which was I could not, what I had done previously was I was a director for a nonprofit. So my past experience, I have a psychology degree, was really, running all sorts of businesses, like, but they were they were like runaway and homeless youth and crisis intervention and a transitional living program. But what I was good at was writing grants and funneling money and growing these programs. So that's what I did. And then when I got pregnant, I took a maternity leave, and then I left the position. When I got divorced, I went back to the agency and said, hey, I'd love to come back. And unfortunately, because I had moved up in my position with my bachelor's degree without my master's, they couldn't let me come back in at the level that I was. So I either had to go back to school and get a master's degree, or what else, right? So that was my big decision at that point, was, what am I going to do? And for me, I was living in Ridgefield, I was renting at the time, and I thought, I want to be with my son, and while he's in school, I will have help maybe after school, and then I can come pick him up, and it worked out great. It was it was good. It was good. It was a good decision.
How have you seen your store stay within all the trends and things like that come and go?
So honestly, I don't think I ever would have gone into women's if it wasn't for my customers. So that's the one thing I learned, like in business, is when you have a vision and you think of what your business is going to look like and what it's going to be, there were so many different shifts that occurred, right? One was, as I have all these moms coming into shop for their kids, they're like, Maura, can you maybe bring on women's clothing? And I was like, oh, I'm not quite sure. But then when I tapped into it, I loved it, right? And it just kept on growing. And it was, I love it. I love it. It's so much fun. The other thing is with consignment and thrift, right? Back in 2004, there was eBay, right? And there were different Goodwill or thrift stores. But it wasn't until 2011 that when the shift happened with Real and Poshmark and online, and it brought consignment to a whole other level. Like, for people that would never necessarily go into a consignment store, they now are looking at things online, realizing they can buy a Chanel bag that was $7,000 for $3,500, right? And it's in great condition. So it really kind of opened a lot up for us. I was nervous at first because I thought, well, why won't everybody just sell online? But people don't necessarily want to be bothered, and the percent isn't necessarily as good. So yeah,
So doing it in person, the percentage is actually better a lot of times.
it can be depending on what the item is. Yep.
Maura, how did you actually like start with the children's cottage? Like, how did this evolve for you? Because I started with the first children's cottage,
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
started years after you opened. So how did that evolve? Like, how did you find your placement? How did you say, because I know, you know, in my day, it was like we knew thrift shops. Like there is a distinction between thrift shops and consignment. So with regards to that, I know Alexandra introduced you as thrift consignment, but you're not thrift, you're only consignment.
Only consignment,
And then you'd explain that to the viewers, like the vintage, the
Yeah.
thrift, consignment, and thrift.
So yeah, so everything's curated, right? So I handpick every item that comes into the store, and I'm choosing what that's going to be, right? So then it gets, it gets hung, it gets checked again for any issues, and then it gets priced and put out on the floor. And then when it sells, the consignor will get a split. So knowing that I was going to be doing this, I was like, let me look at a couple accounts that I've had for the past 20 years and see what clients, because I've got some clients that have been with me for a long time and have consigned a great deal of things. I have one client that's made over $42,000 at my store.
God.
Wow.
I have another client that just did over 20,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's really like, and I have probably 30, maybe close to 3,800 consigners over the course of these years. And but I've basically stayed with my model. My model has always been the same. You either get, paid out by cash or store credit. If people who shop consignment are, they benefit from, using the store credit just because they get a higher percent.
And do you feel that in town you have to compete with anybody else in terms of there's a woman that does it somewhere else, if
Yeah.
around the corner? Do you feel that you're more unique to Ridgefield? What is your thoughts about that?
So I don't feel I compete at all with thrift stores,
Okay.
just because it's a whole different thing. I mean, they've got furniture and accessories and clothing, kids, men's, women's, they've got everything, right? And you have to really kind of go through, if you're going into a thrift store, you've really got to spend some time digging through and figuring out, if that's something that you want. But it's amazing. I mean, they do great things. There's another women's consignment store in town. I feel there's so much, it's like there's so much inventory for people to consign that I don't feel we're necessarily competing. I just think we have different customers. Yeah. And I'm the only children's consignment store in 20 years in Ridgefield.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So the reason why I thought of doing the consignment store in the beginning was because there used to be a store, it was called the Red Balloon in Ridgefield, and they were there for 10 years, and then there was a fire and they burnt, and she never reopened. So while I'm going through my separation and divorce, I watched, and no one in 3 years came and opened a new consignment store. So I thought, all right, let me see if I can pull this off. And what's funny is, in looking back on it in business and what I didn't know, I was very conservative because I wasn't quite sure if it was going to work. So I was hesitant in spending a huge amount of money to get it going. And so I did not do a lot of marketing. And I would say that for the first 5 years was probably like I really didn't know if I made the right decision.
Oh, wow.
It was, you think like if you're there, people are just gonna come, but that wasn't the case. It was a slow learning process. Um, Looking back on that, I would change that immediately. For anyone starting a business, I would put the money and invest it in the marketing and get it rolling.
That was one of my questions. If you were to redo this
Yeah.
journey, what would you do differently in business?
The other thing I would do is be more active in social media.
Of
It
course, for
took me a
now,
while,
yeah.
just because of time. But it really, once you get going, it really does not take a lot of time to throw something on Instagram or throw something on Facebook. Yeah, we get a lot of like either responses or comments, or we can sell through that as well.
And that's so interesting because you would think, oh, it's a small town, there's community, they'll just come because it's a new store that opened. But that's interesting that you got your clientele kind of just by building loyalty and the same customers coming back, and it was a slow burn to get
Yeah.
it going. But I guess also
Yeah.
back then, was their Facebook not used as much? The ways to get the
Uh-huh.
word out were really like word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's amazing that I correlated to the woman we had on last week who said there was a real need for this dog, dog service, dog spa, how
Yeah.
complained about not having really good groomers and having anything really for the dogs. And that she kind of walked around and they felt there was that part missing in the town. And it's the same thing with you. After the
Mhm.
woman business burned down, you kind of
Mhm.
slowly waited, and the opportunities kind of just, it sounds like it went off in your head, like this would be a great opportunity to take a chance and do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like having a personal shopper too, because I like what you said. We talked about travel, and a travel agent said, actually now more than ever, her business is booming over 40 years when you think everyone could book on Expedia or do it through online. And that's nice to know, even with the consignment business, I think people want a personal touch when they're scrolling through eBay and they're trying to consign or buy consigns clothes. Like I'm on Poshmark,
Yeah.
it's hard and people don't want to give real answers. You don't know, is it really going to fit? And if you ask them, hey, I'm 4'11", 5 feet, will it fit? They're like, I don't know. So if you go into a place where you have a personal
Yeah.
person there and you can see the items and feel it and figure it out, I mean, and if you know it's good quality, you're going to keep going back.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
also, that's a good point you mentioned, Alexandra, because in talking to my travel agent, which we should have her on, we had talked about it a few weeks ago. She said that the travel industry is the busiest it's ever been in 40 years because of the fact that people during the pandemic, they got tired of utilizing their travel plans online, and now they wanted to really go in and do it the old-fashioned way, which I've always done it that way. I never really did online travel. I did it more with one-on-one, face-to-face. And so that's really interesting. You wonder if that was another question I had for you about during the pandemic, if that kind of helped, spur it up again when everybody was shut down. People didn't want to then go to Poshmark. They wanted to come in and see Maura Sullivan to feel, to touch, to have communication, to be able to really feel like they're back in community versus everybody else. In the past, we were also isolated.
Right. That is true. We did, the pandemic was awful. It was just awful. I mean, we, as a Connecticut, we obviously had to shut down for a period of time, but it was a very, very hard year because, and part, I will say, the struggle was, we do have used things. And for some reason, I think used and COVID didn't go together too well. Like people were just really hesitant to do a lot of in-store shopping anywhere, right? Even when we reopened, it was it was a while before people came. But when it lifted, there was this huge like whoosh, like everyone was in. And people were relieved and happy. And even though COVID was happening, it was this sense of like, I'm back in a store, exactly what you're describing. And that was fun. That was great. Yeah. And the other thing is, online is online, and I'm not putting that down because it really can come in very handy. But what Alexandra was saying was the fact that, if it doesn't fit and you order it on Poshmark, you can't return it. Whereas, when you come into a consignment store, where we hope you kind of feel like you're in a retail store, like it's organized, things are clean, you can try things on, you can bring it home. If you need to return it, you can. You know, the store piece, the actual, and we help you put together any outfit you want.
Right.
You know, we have people who come in and they're like, okay, I'm going on this trip and this is what I need. And we just put outfits together and
Right.
really save them a ton of money. That's the other thing.
And Maura, what is your like biggest accomplishment as a business owner that you feel you achieved?
I would say 20 years. Yeah. Because I watched so many stores go out of business just in my neighborhood, right? So we had, we had a children's store, there was Talbot's, there was Gap. We've really lost a lot of clothing stores. So just to be able to say that I survived, and through COVID, especially,
You changed, right? Because of the fact that you needed bigger space. When you were a children's cottage, I remember you were somewhere
yeah, it
else.
was so tiny. It was this
Yeah.
little space.
And then you
And
relocated.
then when I expanded and we brought in, the women's, it just added, more customers and more to offer.
What is one of the craziest things that you've ever sold? Like, have you had someone come in with like, I don't know, a 1990 Versace dress? Like, what is an item that you were like, oh, I cannot believe I have this in my store?
We've had pieces that have come in that are like so different, like Versace, Dolce & Gabbana. We've had like pieces that have been great. We've had a lot of, I would say it's shocking, some of the things that I get that are like brand new with tags, right? It still has a $3,000 tag on it and never worn. Like I have a Burberry jean jacket right now. I have this brand new Burberry like polo women's, shirt with a collar, all new with tags. And it's amazing. It's amazing the excess that people have, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always, when I get those things in and I'm seeing these price tags and I'm seeing it brand new, it's pretty, I'm in awe of that, in a sense that like, okay. And then the handbags, I've had some amazing handbags come in and they're always fun to sell. And you just wait for the right customer, but we've always sold them. Like it takes a day sometimes with one item, if it's a real popular item. And then other times it might take a couple months for that right customer to come in and be like, that's what I want. That's what I've been looking for.
That was me for the Gucci. Remember when I went?
Yes.
It was Carol and you weren't there that day. And I said, oh my gosh, well, I love that pocketbook. What is it? And then it turned out it was a Gucci and I'd never had a Gucci. I always had like the type of bags, like Coach and all that. And this was so much higher end. And I loved it, the way it looked. I didn't even know it was Gucci. And I love it. It's my favorite bags. All my bags from you, I love. Like you just have such great, even some of the bags I've gotten from you that were, I didn't even know the name. It was an Italian brand or was just made in Italy. Beautiful. I mean, it's just, and also I would like to say too, that you have a very fair price. A lot of these consignment stores, Alexandra, because I'm a big consignment person, they keep most of it. Mora's prices are very, like you keep like, I think 50, some are 60, 70. So you're very fair. And, I think, I do believe that's why you get a lot of wonderful repeat customers, because it's really a fair deal. Like the way you price it is amazing.
Thank
Olivia's gotten, and Olivia's gotten some amazing pocketbooks.
Yes, she has.
What are you most excited about, Maura, going forward? Like, do you have any plans to change stuff? Do you plan to do it many more years? Like, what is your goals? Do you see any holes and you want to perfect something differently with your business? Or are you pretty content at where you are? As we age.
So the thing is, I am content where I am right now. And I allow, I don't know, I'm at an age where I feel like I enjoy my life. It's not like the business will run me. So I get to travel, I get to enjoy. And could I do a whole online? I should have a website, I should have a website. And so that kind of eats at me sometimes because it's
Okay.
a whole, right? If I developed a website and put things as they went on sale and put them online and did like these drops every Wednesday, I would drop, new clothes online. People, you get a following, right? And usually customers as well would follow it. So there's that I could possibly do. It's just, it's the time in doing it. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
That's true. The balance will definitely change. Now you said you can travel, you can have free time, but then if you throw a website on top of it, then that changes the whole work-life balance.
Like it's good.
Yeah.
And it's good enough. It's not like it's good enough. So yeah, I just feel blessed that I took
That chance.
a risk
Mhm.
in doing it, right?
Right.
As a single mom, I took a risk and invested some money that I had into myself and to my business. And here I am 20 years later.
And you're remarried, happily remarried.
And
How
I'm
many years?
remarried.
How many years?
I've been married 2 years.
I love it. And real quick before we let you go, where did you get this name? It's such
Oh my
a fun
gosh.
name. I want to
I
know.
was
What
gonna
was
say
it?
that.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna just say.
Oh
What,
wow.
Consign Envy?
Consign Envy. Like
I was
how
gonna
did
just
you
ask her that.
Yeah, it was a brainstorm, actually. It was a brainstorm. And it was a back and forth. I actually went through, it was so crazy. So I had the children's cottage, right? And then this woman came into my store and she said, you really need to rebrand. And I was like, all right. And she said, well, what do you carry? I said, well, I have women's clothes, kids' clothes, and equestrian. So we ended up calling it, oh, what was it? It was so silly. Something like the children's cottage at the carriage house or something. It made no sense. No sense at all. But it wasn't legal, right? So it was I'm still the Children's Cottage LLC. And so years go by, and then there was a discussion about my name, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I ended up having a conversation, actually with someone I was dating, and he said, hey, what do you think of Consign Envy? And that was one of the best things that came out of the dating.
I love that.
And
That
I
was
said,
a good name.
yeah. And I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I thought about it and that's it. Yeah. So
Consign Envy was
Yes.
born.
And
Thank
there
you.
it is.
That is really funny.
Yeah.
Maura, real quick, tell everyone where
Yeah.
they can find you if they're in Ridgefield, Connecticut.
Yeah, so we're on 23 Katuna Street. We're right across from the firehouse. I always have usually a clothesline hanging out with clothes swaying in the wind. And we're downstairs on the lower level. You can look us up, Consign Envy, on Facebook or Instagram, and we pop up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maura. This was
Oh,
such a
you're
great
welcome.
interview. Oh my gosh. I
Thank you.
need it when I come in September, I have to hit the store. Now we are here for the pop culture part of our podcast. What an amazing interview with Maura. And now let's dive into some reality TV news.
Very disappointing with a capital D. You know me, I like to emphasize. I don't know what's going on with these shows. Do you want to start with Vanderpump first, or do you want to start with So You Think You Could Dance first?
Yeah, let's start with Vanderpump. It was the season finale, which obviously to me, and I think a lot of other people.
What?
Yeah,
That was the finale
Yeah.
ending in San Francisco.
Yes, but it
That was
doesn't
not
matter
good.
where it.
I felt like it didn't feel like the last show in the season. It just felt like I needed to watch more. I'm still not getting the whole thing where they did the flashbacks. Does that mean we're not going to see more? Are they ending? And also, I felt like it was a continuation of everybody's still upset with the whole Tom Sandoval thing. I feel like there was nothing in it that really grasped my attention because it was just harping on, oh, Ariana doesn't want to talk to Tom. Tom's trying to make penance with everybody. Sheena's a crybaby. Every 2 seconds, Sheena's upset. It's all about Sheena. Sheena's saying, but then Sheena's always upset. Like it to me, if you didn't know what Sheena was upset about, you would think this was something like very serious, like a disease or something. I don't understand why it's become all about Sheena and how upset she is. And again, nothing really happened. There was no cliffhanger. There was no exciting thing. You saw Joe come back into it. Joe got yelled at by them. She tried to make good with Katie. I mean, nothing really to me resonated. I feel like Ariana's boyfriend is kind of wishy-washy, and Ariana's got such anger and can't let anything go. And then Tom just keeps coming to apologize. I just feel it's worn out, the story.
Right. And I find it so funny because you're not on social media, like on the Bravo blogs. And it's so funny
Yeah.
because what everyone is saying all season long is that
Okay.
Sheena makes everything about herself. It's like a running
Oh,
joke that Sheena turns
oh.
everything into herself. Like when some news hit about a world event, people were like, everyone check on Sheena. Is Sheena okay? Because Sheena makes it all
Oh,
about herself. So that's so funny that you're just a viewer and that was your
right.
honest reaction. You had not been tainted by
No,
the media saying she
no.
makes it by herself, and you actually feel like she makes it all about herself.
Oh my God. Like, I just feel like I was like, all right, we get it. But again, number one, it's not important. We get that he was your friend. You're acting like he died. You're acting like you guys parted ways. He wants you in his life. Your only issue is you've got a balance between your friendship with Ariana and your friendship with him. But other
Right.
than that,
But
her
the thing
husband's on her
is,
side too.
her husband's on her side.
Amazing.
My thing is that she could be friends with Tom because look at Schwartz and James Kennedy. But the issue is she's shoving it in Ariana's face. I don't think she had to keep telling Ariana all these things about Tom. And Sheena said if they weren't filming a show, she would have never said those things to Ariana. But because they're filming a show, she had to have those conversations on camera. But I just feel like even Ariana said in the finale, you're never gonna lose me, Sheena. We're like family. So
Right.
why did Sheena follow it up with, I can't cut Tom out of my life? I mean,
Right.
you can't keep shoving him down her throat. And I
Right.
just feel like looking back, Ariana felt really betrayed by Sheena because people, Lala and Sheena kept saying, wait until the finale. You'll understand why Lala said, you know, that God comment about Ariana. And still, I think she came across really, really jealous. I agree with the fact that she's living with Tom Sandoval and the fact that she has a boyfriend. So maybe those are reasons why won't you talk to him on camera? I understand they're filming a show, but I also kind of felt like it was more iconic to watch Ariana stay true to herself and keep her ground and say like he ruined my life. I want nothing to do with him. I feel like that is better than having to watch her and him have a conversation. Like she stood her ground. That was a strong female energy. I kind of liked that.
I did too. And I feel like her boyfriend, Dan, is just kind of blah. I feel like he does not, first of all, seem his age. He seems like he's 25 years old. He seems very awkward and very like non-confrontational. He's just kind of there. He's placid.
Yeah.
He's like a boy toy.
And
I
why
feel
does he
like-
work so many jobs? He's like a bartender and a fitness trainer.
Right.
And Lala was like, do you want fitness to become the main thing? And he's like, it is the main thing. And I'm like, but you're a bartender at night. Why are you doing so many jobs?
Yeah, the whole thing is weird. He seems like he's very easily swayed in terms of like whatever his girlfriend wants, he'll do for her, but he doesn't seem like he has his own opinion. Like I just feel like that's right. You know, what's his name? Tom never did anything to him directly, but he knows what he did to his girlfriend.
Right.
He's like, yeah, what I've heard, but you know, I
Well,
don't know.
Sheena is right in the sense that I think, was it Sheena who said that maybe she started dating Dan? Or it was Lala, I think. She hasn't dealt with the emotions. I think Lala and Sheena
Oh,
are
grieving.
valid. And yeah, she hasn't dealt with the grieving Ariana. She's kind of just dated a new guy to mask what happened and to kind of forget. And I love everyone. I am not a team Ariana or a team. I think Lala and Sheena are completely valid in their opinions. I understand where they're coming from. I just think it came off really poorly with how, I don't know, it just came off really poorly for some reason.
I also think it's a silly storyline. How much do we have to have this shoved down our throat? And then can I talk about James and Allie? They're so boring. So boring. Like James is such a crybaby. He's so annoying.
When he was crying, he's a hopeless romantic. Like he just wants
Like, I
love.
love you so much. It's not the dog. Hippie's second. You're first. Hippie's the dog for the viewers that don't know. And it's like, okay. And she's just like, "Ah, I do love you. I do." Like, they're just so like placid too. And then let's see, who else did I want to? Oh, Brock. Brock is just like, he does whatever Sheena does. And he just, to me, I mean, I didn't watch it when he first started because I only started watching everything this year. How long has Brock been on it?
Maybe like 4 years or 5,
Wait,
not that many.
like, he just seems like and again, you might disagree, but I feel like he's almost like fatherly to Sheena now. Like, I don't feel like they're like romantic. I feel like he's almost like her father.
Oh,
Like the way he calls her, not sweetheart,
honey,
I don't know, honey. He just, the way he
my
speaks,
love.
he's just annoying too. I feel like they're all getting on my nerves, and I feel like it's such a boring storyline.
People are
Like,
sick of
there's
this
nothing to
Scandal
talk
story.
about.
Well,
Yeah.
right, but they were wrapping up because you have to remember they started filming this 3 months after the scandal. So that
Yeah, but
might be their detriment. They went right into filming. So this was in real time, the aftermath of the scandal. If they had waited a few months to pick up
Right.
cameras, maybe everyone's lives would have been different. But
That's a good point.
and I
yeah.
understand what Lala is saying, like this is her livelihood. So if someone is not willing to have a show and wants to completely isolate themselves from the cast, like Ariana's doing, then how is it fair to the ensemble of the cast? But at this point, I think it turns out Lala is in talks apparently to go to the Valley.
Oh my gosh, we were right.
Yeah, and I think that would be great if Lala and
I got to start watching the Valley thing.
You
So you
have
think
to-
she's going to leave? She's going to
I
leave?
think, well, apparently the report said that if she moves over to the Valley, she will also still be on Vanderpump. So maybe they're trying to segue it to be no more Vanderpump, fully Valley, but they need a season to do a segue. But I think Lala and Sheena are great. And I think that they were playing background characters to this Scandival storyline. And if we put them on the Valley, they can talk about their kids, their family life, and all this stress and the stupid Scandival can go away. I think we should have them on the Valley because I love them. And I think Ariana and Katie should, maybe have their own show, but also Ariana's on Broadway. She's doing Chicago again in August. She's doing another run for the month of August. And then she's also going to host Love Island in Fiji. She doesn't need the show. Like, she doesn't have to be a reality star. She's actually on a higher level of success. So she should just do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I mean, I just think that the other characters really don't add much to the whole value of Vanderpump. And I feel like there needs to be a better storyline. You're right. That makes a good point that, they had to talk about it because it happened right after they started filming, right after Sandoval. But even with that being said, I feel like, could there be more going on? And like, what was happening other than Sheena sang? They watched, and nothing gets finish. Like, they start these things and then they never finish. For example, her singing, what's that leading to? What is the point?
She is a band now. She is in a band. She's releasing music. I just think that there's only so much they can show. And what they really kind of focused on were the conversations surrounding Scandival. So they tried to show a little bit of Sheena's career, a little bit of Lala's sperm party, but there was no cohesive ending because they wanted to focus on Scandival.
Right.
And I didn't understand the Joe thing either. I feel we didn't really see the end of that. Like, I guess Joe's. Yeah,
she walked out.
She's coming back to the reunion though. So we'll see her on the reunion. She's going to have it out with Katie. But I mean, I didn't even understand. It was so discombobulated, that conversation, that I didn't get anything from it. I mean, it's just, Lala's not happy. She said she doesn't want to talk about the season ever again. So I think she knows she came across poorly to most of the viewers. But at the same time, I think that I'm excited for the reunion. And it's kind of sad that they're not filming anymore. Like, did you hear that they stopped production? Normally they pick up cameras in the summer, but they're giving the cast a break and they don't know when they're going to film again because it's just too tumultuous, whatever the word is.
Tumultuous.
Yeah, so they're not filming right now. So who knows? They might not film until winter, until next summer. I don't know. What are they going to do?
So why did she come across bad? I mean, I just feel like she's outgrown them. I don't feel like she came across bad at all. I feel like she was more level-headed and more mature. She said something about when she made some bad decisions with her relationship. Remember, they did the flashback and stuff. Nobody really gave her any go pass, right? I think that's why she's a little bit, I would say she's a little bit frustrated with the fact that, that Tom is getting the go pass, forgiveness pass, because she was not, because she was with a married man.
Well,
and she didn't really get forgiven. Is that correct?
Right. And he wasn't married. It was like, he lied to her. But I agree. I don't think Lala came off poorly. I think she's completely outgrown them, and she's honest, and she's done the work, and maybe has gone to therapy, and she lets the anger go for herself. And she was just trying to give Ariana that type of advice. Same with Sheena. Sheena just wanted Ariana, like Sheena said, I have to let this go for myself because it's eating her alive. And I feel like they want Ariana to have that type of freedom. Like, you need to just move on and let it go. All this anger and bitterness is just going to make it hard for you to like be happy in the long run.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to see. Reunions next week. I'm excited. 3 parts.
So then it's 3 parts?
Yeah, so 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh. And then we don't know if it's going to film ever again? Or
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that finale, when they showed the photos of them when they were younger, felt like a series finale. It didn't feel like a season. Why are we looking at flashbacks of when they were younger? It made me really nervous.
Yeah. And then what was the show that they were going to do in Vegas? Wasn't there something they were going to film, like a second issue, not the Valley, but something else in Vegas related to this, or
Well,
no?
Lisa has a restaurant in Vegas, but I don't know if that's going to ever become a show, but she did open a restaurant in Vegas.
Right. I thought, maybe I misunderstood. I thought there was a show in Vegas.
Maybe
Like,
there was talks of one at one point, but not right now.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see. I'm betting that this is pretty much on its way out. I mean,
Yeah.
Peter's not on it anymore, right?
Yeah,
Peter was the whole bartender, and they got rid of him. They didn't
And
want to.
Jax and Stassi got fired, but now Jax and Brittany are back on the Valley, and I think that was kind of, people love the Valley. The Valley is like the new Vanderpump. It's
I'm gonna have to start
not
watching
that good
because
for Vanderpump.
I feel like I kind of jumped into this whole Vanderpump, and
Yeah.
it was okay in the beginning when I started watching it. Now it's just like repetitive over and over. In the Valley, there's so much going on that I do have to watch. I've only watched
Yes.
one
And it's
episode.
more authentic because they're all parents and they're all in this parent friend group.
Right.
So
There's a lot more directions they can take with different issues.
Right, but it's still crazy. The drama is still crazy, and it's so
Right.
good. And Kristen too, she was fired from Vanderpump, and she's on the Valley, and she is just she means well, but she's a little cuckoo, and it's just so enjoyable to watch.
Okay. So how many episodes are you?
I think
in?
we're like 8 episodes in, so you got to watch. But
7.
you'll have a hiatus if you could just watch it throughout the summer before they
Okay.
film again.
All right, I'll do that. And then what about, I have not been following along, I'll be honest. What's going on with the Housewives of Beverly Hills? Let's update the fans. I mean, it ended a few months ago.
Mhm.
What has happened with them? We know Crystal's not on it anymore, right?
And Anne-Marie.
Great.
Mhm.
So what was the reason for Crystal? And then what's going on with Kyle and her husband?
So I think Crystal and Anne-Marie, I felt bad for Anne-Marie because I actually did not like her during the season, but I think we talked about how at the reunion she was much more likable.
Yes.
They didn't
Yes.
show her mom dying. They didn't show
Right.
her adoption story. And I think those things would have really made a lot of sense with how she was feeling and her
Right.
journey. And that was very interesting. I would have much rather seen her adoption journey than her talking about Sutton's esophagus. So I just think, yeah, it was bad. She didn't have a good season. They let her go. Crystal, I was shocked at. I felt like she was the same with you, finally finding her voice. I have no idea
Yes.
why they let her go.
Yes, I know, because she was like very placid. She was almost like, there was no point for her to be on that show. And then she really found her
Yeah,
voice,
her voice.
strength, and started to have like her own, I guess, personality per se,
Yeah.
away from the group. And then did she walk away voluntarily, or she
No.
was let go?
She was
Oh,
let
she was let
go.
go too.
And she was
Okay.
very gracious, but I did like that. I felt like she was the only one who was kind of standing up with the Kyle Morgan situation at the
Right.
reunion. She's like, I felt like she was your girlfriend. She looks like your girlfriend. And then on a podcast recently, she's like, I felt like I've known they were together for like a year and a half. I've been thinking about that. And she was the only one who was coming out and saying what everyone was thinking,
Yeah.
And then apparently Dorit. So there are these rumors going around that Dorit was not going to be asked back unless she admitted that her and PK's marriage is on the rocks and he's living at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And she said that's not true. She's been asked back and that they are happy and they both live in the home. So where did that come from, that rumor?
Oh my gosh. So she's staying on?
Yeah, she's staying on. And then Kyle claims that she hasn't made a decision whether she wants to come back or not. But I think she's gonna
Show?
Yeah, she said she doesn't know if she wants to come back.
What's going on with her marriage?
Well, it's done. He's moved out. He moved into a condo. Mauricio moved into a condo, a big man, like $1 million condo in Beverly Hills or somewhere, or West Hollywood, I think. So he's done. He's out of the marital home. Like, it's over. And I don't know about Morgan Wade. I really think that they're dating, but I haven't seen any photos of them recently. So I don't know if they're keeping it undercover. or if they are done. I mean, she likes all of Morgan's photos, but I will say that now I don't trust these blind items, you know, the random. One of them says that the girl ran into Morgan and was like, "Where's Kyle?" And Morgan said, "Oh, I haven't talked to Kyle recently. We're not close anymore." I don't believe that she would say that to a random person.
No.
And I think maybe they're keeping it kind of low key, but
Which is amazing. How are they keeping it low key with everything going on with the marriage? You would think like the media would be after them.
well,
How
I
did
would
they?
think that Kyle calls the paparazzi then. All those shots we've seen of her and Morgan, maybe she's calling the paparazzi because now there's no paparazzi and she's still out
Oh,
and about. So that's, I don't know what to think. It's weird because you can follow hashtags on Instagram and the
okay.
only hashtags Kyle follows are hashtag Morgan Wade and Kyle Richards and like a tattoo one. But like, why are you following a hashtag about you to look at photos of you and Morgan? That's so
Yeah, that's bizarre. So, and you think Maurizio, the reason he moved out was, do you think they both cheated? Do you think that was the issue?
No, I think that their marriage is over, and I think
Based
it's
on what?
her. I just think she fell out of. He did something, remember, to ruin her trust, and
Right.
I think it's cheating. I don't know, but ever since then, she just was done. When a woman is done, they're done, and I think
That's so true. That's so true. But why hasn't he said anything? I mean, I'm really impressed that he's kept his mouth
respect
shut. Right. Like he has not talked to the media or anything.
because they are a
And I
good family unit. They were just at Stagecoach together as a family, so they're still
Oh,
a family unit. They have 4 daughters,
okay.
and I think that that's what comes first. So they're
Okay.
very respectful, and Kyle said they're great friends.
Okay.
So sad.
It's really sad. Yeah, they're married a long time. So basically we'll have to wait and see that. When does that start again? September?
I think next winter.
Oh,
They're probably gonna start filming soon, but I don't think it'll air until maybe like fall or winter.
yeah. I mean, it's funny. I kind of feel like when you're watching the Housewives and then you're thinking about Vanderpump Rules, they're much younger, but they're kind of headed in that direction, but non-married. In
Right.
other words, there's always drama, but nothing really important is happening, right? Like when
I
you think
agree.
about these storylines, it's reality. So, I mean, you can criticize and say, well, it's reality TV. So, of course, it's going to be what it is.
Right.
But it's almost like reality TV with no substance in both shows. I mean, the Kyle Richards thing is still more exciting than I have to say, than the Vanderpump. It's still keeping my attention more because you're dealing with women's issues, you're dealing with a lot of different stuff. It's not so much couples, it's more
Right.
about the women. So I kind of like that better. But the Vanderpump, they've really got to up their game a lot.
Yeah.
And, again, I said this early on, going back to Vanderpump, they should have been talking about the restaurant, Tom Tums, Katie's lunch place with Ariana. Like, everything with these shows, it seems like, at least Vanderpump, they want to stick with one thing and just keep harping on it, harping. They can bring things up, but they should move on with other new ideas and
Right.
new agendas. And you kind of see that in the Beverly Hills one, the women were all kind of having different issues, one with the robbery, Dorit being robbed, her issue with her marriage. Nothing was just about then Kyle with her relationship, then Kyle's friend dying. To me, there was more substance in that.
Yeah.
And I think when you lose the substance, you lose the viewership.
Mhm.
And it's really disappointing. So I kind of want to go back to the older Vanderpumps
You should.
and really watch what they
Oh,
were
it's
like.
so
Yeah.
juicy. They were young. They were all sleeping with
Yeah.
each other. It was so dramatic. And
Yeah.
something about her is opening May 22nd, the sandwich shop.
Oh, it is. That's what I
Yeah.
was saying.
May 22nd. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's great. Oh, so then that's Ariana's and Katie's.
Yeah.
So then they're going to are they going to be there or no? They have people running.
They'll probably be there the first day, the opening, maybe a few special occasions, but Ariana's booked and busy. Broadway,
Booked and busy,
Fiji,
yeah.
like she's not going to be there
Yeah.
all the time, which I think was kind of an issue. Probably they didn't realize the level of what was going to happen when they started the sandwich shop. She didn't realize she was going to be cheated on and then fly all
Yeah.
over the world.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see what happens.
That's right. Do you think you could dance? Kind of disappointing. It's so funny. I actually had all these thoughts in my mind about what I wanted to say. And then I read something online that was like completely in line with my thinking. And basically what it said online is many viewers are so disappointed. They said I never watched the older ones, So You Think You Can Dance. They said it was way better when they first started out, So You Think You Could Dance. They said they're beating a dead horse. It's not showing individuality. They're doing these group dances. It's very boring. The judges are very placid. Everything that you and I were saying. And I feel like
Wow.
this week I was excited to watch because I loved the dances they were going to do. But at the end, I basically was disappointed again because what it came down for the people that don't watch, our viewers, is they had to do a group dance. This time they were all together and it was two choreographers, right? And they were dancing to T-Pain's songs with the two dances with two different choreographers. They were amazing. What I don't understand is the way they do it every week. One week was Broadway. This week was a group tour, right? Like a touring type group.
Mhm.
What I don't understand is how do these judges really fully judge them as individuals when they're just watching group dances? And what they keep doing every week is they keep narrowing it down. And then to save your life, you've got to do an individual dance.
Right.
And it doesn't make any sense. Why aren't we just watching individual dances? We said this last week. It's just the same thing every week. You do the group dances with these choreographers, then Max, JoJo, and Allison review it. But none of them talk about every single person. They all get somebody to talk about, but Max should be talking about everyone. Allison should be talking with everyone. And same with JoJo. Instead, they just pick and choose. I don't know how they decide. And it's always a negative thing. Oh, you're not bringing it out. The one thing I was happy to see, Allison didn't agree with Max because Max put down Easton, who I thought was fabulous.
Oh, I know.
And Allison was like, he's great. Like, what do you, so I like who they chose. I think that, what was her
Me
name? The
too.
girl, what was it?
Mariah left, and I think that was,
which I agree. That was
I
good.
agree.
The only thing good about the show.
yeah,
I think this whole thing about watching them do group dances and saying, oh, you didn't give it your all, like it makes no
sense. I'm so
I
over
couldn't
the
even
group.
see it. I don't know about you, but I was trying to look closely because I watch everything on my phone. I wasn't watching on TV. Maybe that's my problem, but normally with Dancing with the Stars, I can see. I'm watching closely. I'm like trying to watch Easton. There was no time to watch each individual performance.
Exactly.
Not that much of a spotlight.
No, I know. I completely agree. At the beginning, she fooled me, Kat. She's like, this week you won't be dancing in, groups. And I was like, oh,
Right.
and then she's like, you'll be dancing in one big group. I was like, oh, my God, I'm so sick of it.
Right.
I completely agree. And I don't understand. I feel the judges are so far removed from the dancers because they're not
Mhm.
working one-on-one with them. They're not
No.
helping them and giving them tips. It would make more sense if they worked with them. And then when they were judging them, they could see, hey, did they pick up on what I suggested?
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't
Yeah,
like boring.
the viewership, when I was listening, I was reading the comments. Oh my gosh, I could remember all of them. They were so in alignment with what I believe. Like, just like, what are they doing, these judges? They're really, it's the most boring show.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. We're not getting to see a lot of dances. It's just not very exciting. Oh, and then it was so funny. One of the commentaries was the audience isn't even real. The audience is kind of, like it looks like a fake audience.
Yeah, and it's their parents, and the parents aren't even excited. I don't even see any sort of
Right.
excitement from the audience.
It just feels like it's taped.
Right.
And we're watching tapes. It's really disappointing. And somebody also wrote, they do not like JoJo. I don't know if that's what's been going on a lot, but they think she's not experienced enough to be giving the tips.
That's what I was thinking.
I really think that I don't feel like, to be honest, there's any chemistry with the three judges.
I
And I think
agree.
it's really important. With Dancing with the Stars, there's a lot of chemistry. People would play off each other. This is just like very individualistic, and they just happen to be sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
And there's really no real, what was that thing? They took a picture together. They snapped a picture. They went up on stage. What was that about?
I didn't think
Touch
anyone
it.
even had a camera out because aren't you supposed to not have your phones out at these things? Like they made us
Right.
shut our phones off at the top. I have no idea what that was. I think Allison is there for the glam and to look cute and really wants attention. But I did agree with her when she fought for Easton. She
Right.
fought for Easton and she kept her stance. And then Easton and Anthony made it into the top, which I love them. I think that was well deserved. But
I
again,
do.
I think they're so wrong that Easton doesn't have confidence. And how are you judging that in a group dance? It makes no sense. He worked so hard. He
Right.
gives it all. They all do. So I don't understand how they're judging. JoJo has the worst style ever. It just makes
I
me
know.
But I do think Max is a serious judge, but again, they're all looking for something different. And
Yeah.
JoJo has been a dancer since a child, so I do think she has experience, but I don't know if she has judging experience at this stage in her career.
It's a very, very second-rate show, and I
Yeah.
just don't think,
I'm
I
sad.
really don't think these judges are gonna be asked back. I think they're gonna have to revamp it somehow, or the show's gonna just end up just being canceled. It's just
Right.
not exciting.
Yeah,
So that's all I have.
me too. That's all we got. I mean, it's all, it's just not, this week is not that great for reality TV.
Not at all. Hopefully, next week we'll have fun stuff to talk about with the reunion with Vanderpump. And how many more shows do we have? Like 3 more of, so you think
Yeah.
we can dance?
I mean, we're still in it. I want to see who wins. So we're
Yeah,
still
I do too.
dedicated. So we'll see who wins.
But like also I almost feel like, what are they trying to make them into group going on tour type of dancers? To me, it just makes no sense
I don't know.
what the objective is. And then
Yeah.
you feel bad for all these other people that have made it to this point, and then they get let go. There's
Yeah.
no continuity with following up with them. I love how they say, "Oh, come back next year." It's a very hard thing to judge. The other thing is, when you think back, Alexandra, to the original first week of when this So You Think You Could Dance, there were so many type of dancers, right? The ones that were like ballerina dancers, they would never have had a chance in this competition, because you're not going on tour for ballerinas. You have to be really good at hip hop and be much more vast in terms of your, like, I feel like it's good to have a ballet training. I know that from you and Olivia as your basis for the other dancing. But when you're bringing ballet as your main form of purpose, I feel like there was no way they'd be able to carry it through.
I
Because if
agree.
you notice, none of these women or men are ballet
That's true.
dancers. They're all more modern, or what, hip hop maybe?
Yeah, you have to be more versatile. You can't just be a classic dancer. You have to have the wherewithal to do it all. Like I feel
Right.
Easton, I think Easton is classical, but he can do everything. I just think he's such a star. Anthony
Yeah.
is not classically trained, but I think he adapted well and he has so much confidence and character. And then the girls all could do everything. I don't think any of them are ballet though. I think they are all modern and
Right.
hip hop.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, we'll have to see. Okay, Alexandra. Well, I'll see you next week.
See you next time. Bye guys.
Bye.